Hey everybody, thanks for checking out my channel. This is Becca from BeccaTownSims, and today we are looking at my speed build of the Goth family mansion. So it's called Ophelia Villa in the game, and it is located in Willow Creek. And I decided that it was time to renovate this because the Goths have always been like one of my favorites, and probably a lot of you guys really like them too. I know when I first found the Goth family, I thought they were so cool. It was in Sims 2, and it was like you start and then Cassandra's getting married to Don, and then sometimes he leaves her at the altar, and I loved it from the start, as well as that little mystery about Bella, which I think they need to do more with the lore in Sims 4 because like I really like it. But anyways, I decided that the Goths needed a more suitable housing situation, so I wanted to build them something that I felt was in line with their personality, and that meant that I was going to build them a Victorian style home. So what I did first was just kind of look up some reference images, and the one that I found that I liked was this mansion in Minnesota. I think Stillwater, Minnesota is where the house is, and it is just a black Victorian house, and I wonder actually if EA was also inspired by it when they built this, because it has a lot of the similar elements, and I wanted to keep those elements because I wanted it to look like similar to the original build. Like I like the tower, I like the balconies and the porches. I wanted to keep that, but also just make it look more realistic. So this picture had a lot of those elements, like the way that the front left side kind of pulls out a little bit. It's not quite a bay window, but that sort of like bay window shape. So I had that. It also had the porch on the right and a tower. So I'll throw the reference image up here so you guys can see it. I took some elements from it. I left some elements out. For example, I didn't put a roof the same way that they did, so it looks like their roof is kind of a hipped roof, and I just used one of the gabled pitched roofs because they're so much easier. At first I was thinking about making a mansard roof because mansard roofs look really good with a certain type of Victorian, so those are usually Second Empire Victorians. They have the mansard roofs and the cool dormer windows peeping out from them. It's a really specific look, and it goes really well with like the kind of Victorian that has a tower. So I thought about building one of those, but honestly I was just too lazy to place it because putting mansard roofs can be kind of a pain. So I thought that the pitch one kind of worked with the style of the build anyways, because the dormers are still coming out. And I actually like the way it looks because it almost looks a little bit older to me, more historical. So it kind of makes it look, to me, in my opinion, like the house could have undergone some renovations to give it more of this kind of Second Empire look, but actually it's an older house. So I like the way that worked out. I did use a lot of debug items when I was building this house, so just in case you don't know yet, to get access to the debug items, you just type in testing cheats true, and then you type bb.show live edit objects, and then you can access these extra items. So these aren't CC, these are just debug mode things. Mostly I like to use debug mode for the plants, like the potted lavender under the windows comes from that, and so does some of the shrubbery, because I find that the general shrubbery in game does not have a lot of just like greenery, so sometimes you don't want just flowers, you want some green things to intersperse with it, so I use it for that, and also these paving stones. So about the garden, I know that the Goths are like goth, right? But I had this idea that maybe Mortimer really likes to do a little puttering around outside, so I wanted to give them some greenery, and I didn't want the thing to look like too dead and gloomy because it's an old gloomy house. But it doesn't have to be like totally dark. Like it's not like a vampire house, you know, like they're not like murdering people, probably. I don't know, what does Bella do? But yeah, so I wanted there to be some brightness around. Just a tip, if you are building like a Victorian style, put a lot of ornamentation on it. So the Victorians like loved decorating things. It was an era when industrialization was making it easier to mass produce things, so everything didn't have to be like handmade, and that meant that a lot of houses were getting more complex pieces of woodwork than they would have otherwise had. So you see a lot more ornamentation on Victorian buildings, and it was just like the style back then too. So that's why I added the things to the roofs and tried to pick the railings that were just a little bit more elaborate. So if you're going for that style, again, like a little ornamentation is good. And adding like the gosh, I don't know the name for them, the decorative things over the railings on the porch, those are good too. Speaking of which, I have a complaint about those. Like, I hate that they're all so big, because sometimes I build a smaller house and I want something to delineate the space, but like all of those are so like big and fat. You have to have really tall walls on for them to look right. Anyways, I digress. So for the interior, I used some stuff from the University pack, from the Vampire pack, kind of varied it up. So I wanted it to look old and a little gloomy. Incorporate like red and black, but not too much red and black. I added in the ferns, but you'll see like Victorians liked greenery too, so it's not crazy. I also put in some of the suits of armor because in their original house they had some of those. The original house is just like a wreck, by the way, right? Am I the only one who thinks that? Probably not. Anyways, I added also some cool windows from the Magic pack, Realm of Magic. I thought that they worked really well with this, and I also thought that if somebody wanted to use this house not for the Goth family, but for like some spellcasters or some vampires, that the windows give it this kind of like whimsical look that could work for, you know, different families too. The kitchen's fairly simple. I don't know, I'm just not inspired by kitchens, especially for the Goths. I don't know, do they cook or do they like have a maid who cooks? I don't know. The downstairs floor plan is a bit different from the original, but I tried to give them some things that came in the original house, like the grand piano that I put into the parlor. They don't have a TV because they're too old money for a TV, so you'll have to add one if you think that they would like one. The upstairs bedrooms also are kind of similar to the original layout, so I put Bella and Mortimer in the front, kept their red and black scheme, and then I put Cassandra in the room next door. It is smaller than her original room, but I find that a lot of the EA builds are just way too big. So if you build these huge rooms and don't put much furniture in them, they look really empty and unrealistic. And if you do put a bunch of furniture in them, like, you will be cluttering and cluttering for hours and hours and hours. So my tip to you is, if you want kind of a realistic looking build, keep your rooms smaller, because then you don't have to work so hard to clutter them. I also put a bathroom in the tower. Originally, Alexander's room is at the top of the tower, but I couldn't find a good way to incorporate the stairs, and I also thought it was weird that they made Alexander live in the tower. Like, maybe he likes it, but maybe he feels like Harry Potter, except like in the attic. So I gave Alexander a room on the second floor with everybody else. And I put another bathroom up there for the kids, and there's one downstairs too. Also upstairs, I added in a little office area so they could have a computer. That room is a little bit brighter than other areas in the house, just because I didn't want all the dark black and red to get too tedious. I think that this is the most seriously I've taken an EA renovation, because I did the Caldera camp too, but I didn't really look very hard at what was there before, and this one was easier because you kind of know who the Goth family is, so when you're building it you can keep their personalities in mind. But I would like it if you guys let me know if you would like to see me do more serious renovations of some of the EA homes, because I think that could be a fun project to kind of redo the map and try to build houses that are true to the style and personalities of the people who live there, the Sims who live there, and keep them kind of consistent with how they were originally, while you know, doing things to make them look more lived in, more cluttered, more realistic, or kind of like define their style a little bit more. So let me know if you'd be interested in seeing more of those, because I would be happy to make some for you guys. So now I'm decorating Alexander's room and Cassandra's room. For Alexander, I tried to put in some of the science posters because the one time I played like my base game, like I first installed it and actually played with all the townies. I played with Alexander and he became like a scientist and he's a little whiz kid. So I gave him a bunch of science stuff. And for Cassandra, I kept her room kind of tidier. I put in some movie posters because she's creative, so I thought maybe she'd be into like artsy films. But I kept the pink color because that is what they had in her room originally, I think. So I just kind of kept that, and I didn't put too much clutter in there because I figured she might be like on the neater side. Anyways, on the back patio, I wanted to put an area where the family could hang out, so I put the easel out there and also this little bar set up because I thought it was just like, you know, nice place for a bar. And then turn this little entryway into like the chess room because your Sims house is not complete without a chess set. But anyways, I think we are coming up on the end of this build. I'm finishing it up here. So if you like the video, please let me know. Leave me a comment because I love to see what you guys think about my builds. Give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to download this, it will be on the gallery as Ophelia Villa Remodel because that's what it's actually called instead of the Goth house. And you can find me there by my EA ID, which is BeccaTownSims. So I hope to see you guys soon.